The first ever real search everywhere style campaign that I saw in the wild that wasn't one of ours was by Sephora. And Sephora ran a campaign called Black Beauty is Beauty, which essentially recognized that the conversation on TikTok, Instagram, and Pinterest around Black beauty was obviously Black-owned makeup brands, was Black creators talking about the latest beauty trends, makeup trends, cosmetics trends, and that community was thriving on social platforms. But when you searched for Black beauty on Google, you received queries about a film from the 80s, which was about a black horse. There was a massive gap there between what the community was demanding and what Google was serving. So they launched this campaign with a hero video to call out this stigma, to celebrate like the contribution of the Black community to the makeup and cosmetic industry and to the trends that take place within that. And generated like mass brand awareness on the back of it. They partnered with more Black-owned brands than ever before. They did more for Black-owned brands, put them in like better shelf positions and things like that in the store in real life. And it was this first connected campaign. And what it led to was like a 7,000% increase in the number of people searching for Sephora at the time.
Welcome to the Simple and Smart SEO Show podcast. I'm your host, Krista Waddell, here to bridge the gap between SEO strategy and real-world business success. So grab a coffee or your favorite tea, and let's dive into smarter SEO for your business. I'm here with another friend from across the pond, Ashley Liddell, and we were joking together because we both have similar pronunciations of our last name, very fancy at the end in that second syllable. Ashley is the co-founder of Deviation, not just an SEO agency. We'll talk about that in just a minute. So Ashley, welcome to the Simple and Smart SEO Show podcast. I can't wait to talk to you about all of your innovative ideas around SEO.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Yeah, we're going to have a good chat.
I was so sad that I missed your talk in San Diego. I think I was probably running my mouth somewhere, but I was so excited to hear about everything that you guys are doing over there at Deviation. I was just wondering if you could give us a little bit about your background of SEO, kind of the TLDR of how you got started to how you've co-founded Deviation, and then we'll jump in.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no worries. So I was a bit of a late bloomer in the SEO game, to be fair. I got into SEO through my marketing degree that I was doing at the time at the University of Hull, which is a small city in the UK. And SEO really started to pique my interest because it allowed me to be creative whilst also having data to back up the decisions. You weren't playing guesswork or guessing. You had the data to inform that creativity. So I started doing SEO whilst at university through my assignments and then through small local businesses. After university, I got a bit of a fortunate lucky break and used a PPC campaign where I would basically bid on the terms Rise at 7 and Carry Rose, so that when you Google search for those terms, my CV appeared above their website. So then Carrie basically saw my CV, and underneath the CV was like a link to jump on a Zoom call or a Teams call with me. And I managed to get a job out the back of that and started properly in the SEO space at Rise at 7. This was when they were massively on their climb and in their sort of like a surgence. So I managed to get involved in a lot of cool stuff there. And then the time came to move on from there because I was ready to progress and I was in their SEO team, and it probably just wasn't possible to progress to where I needed to be at the time. So I moved on to Kinesso, IPG Media Brands, and that was very different to Raz. Raz was very, as I say, in their resurgence. So they would let you get involved in a lot of things, let you test and learn, fail, succeed. And then when you go to a brand like IPG Media Brands, it was very regimented, but they had a lot of multinational large accounts. So then I got to experience working with larger brands and multinational brands, which was a really good experience. At that time as well, I was also developing this idea that I'm sure we're going to get into of search everywhere, and noticing that search was starting to change. And the time came where I was like, okay, I can either build this proposition at IPG Media Brands and try and build it at Kinesso, or go and build it for myself. And I'd kept in touch with a couple of people that I was speaking to at Rise. We had a chat at our friend's wedding, funnily enough, which was quite cool, and said, should we go for it? They was like, yes. And then that was the startings or the rumblings of Deviation. And then it's just gone from there, really. We launched soft launch April 2024, and then the full launch was in January of this year. So it's been a bit of a a whirlwind few years to be fair.
And then I see your posts on LinkedIn, how you're hiring again and expanding. And I'm just like, oh, that's so awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you. You have these different sort of journeys where you're like, okay, it's scary now because we've got a client. And then it's like, oh, now it's scary because we've got to hire people. And now it's scary because we've got to hire more people. So I don't think it'll ever stop being scary, but it's a lot of fun as well. So it's really cool.
I was just watching a thing with this guy from Shark Tank, Mr. Wonderful. Somebody asked him a question, can anybody be an entrepreneur? He was like, no, they can't. He talked about just having that tolerance for everything you just spoke about, that risk tolerance and the painful ups and downs of learning and growing and all that. So yeah, I love to be in the presence of other entrepreneurs.
We're a weird bunch, aren't we? Is that risk, that ability to accept that you're taking a risk or putting yourself in the shop window, so to speak. But yeah, it's a weird old life. I remember when we started Deviation, I spoke to my partner about it, and she basically said, oh yeah, if you're going for it, you've got to go for it now. And it was like, okay, that's great, like awesome. And then I spoke to my mum, who's very risk averse, and she was like, oh, I don't know if you should be doing this. But luckily it's worked out. But you are right, I don't think it's the lifestyle for everybody, for sure.
So tell us about this concept of search everywhere.
Search everywhere is quite a simple thing on the surface, but then as you dig deeper and deeper, it gets more convoluted and there's lots of like arms to it, which makes it really fun. On the surface, it's essentially engineering brand discovery on the platforms that your audiences spend time engaging on. So it's recognizing that actually, even before AI search emerged, even before TikTok became a search engine, we don't actually spend that much time on a Google search. We go there when we realize we've got a problem, we input a query and we look for a solution. And Spark Toro have done some really cool research on this recently. Actually, we spend more of our time on social media platforms, news platforms, productivity platforms. So search everywhere originally started as this idea of, let's go to those platforms because the ocean is bigger and people are spending more time there and we can connect with our audiences more effectively and more efficiently. And as a result of that, we can facilitate a brand search back on Google where they realize they've got a problem. They're then taking a brand search rather than a non-branded search. The reason it starts to get convoluted is then AI and LLMs have started to enter the conversation. The likes of Reddit, Pinterest, and TikTok have realized that this is happening. So therefore, they are almost like mini search engines, if you like. So it starts to get convoluted because then there's all these sort of, okay, well, how do you optimize for TikTok? How do you optimize for YouTube? When originally, when I was thinking of it, it was just making sure you was searchable or findable on those platforms. So yeah, that's the top level. And I'm sure we can get into it more.
Talked a little bit about how I got started in SEO with Shopify and helping other small creators build their Shopify stores. And for me, my big generator of buzz, I guess you could say, about my business is on Pinterest. I am a creative. I make athlete gifts and wooden signs and different things like that. Pinterest really made sense for my business as a visual type of search engine. Pinterest has a lot of like SEO principles embedded in it that I didn't even realize I was learning SEO as I was optimizing everything for Pinterest, from text overlays to graphics to descriptions, that type of stuff. And so it was just really interesting to me as I moved through learning about SEO, like I could see parallels or the intersections or just like the crossover of search across platforms. And a lot of people would talk about optimizing their website, but I was like, even how I search, I don't just go to Google. And so because I was so ingrained in Pinterest, it really opened my eyes beyond just that traditional create content for your website, build links for your website. That's it. And so I love this idea of search everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, that's like a really good sort of use case example here. It's that idea of actually for a lot of brands, the Google search engine result page provides a lot of friction that doesn't necessarily have to be there for you. Historically, we've always sort of conformed to the requirements of Google and given in to what they expect from content and how they like decide what they're going to rank. And that's been set by what's easiest to create typically. So that will always be blogs for informational queries historically with H1, H2, some FAQs, chunked content, for example. And that was the be all and end all. now what we're realizing is that actually search can exist as a Pinterest board that then moves people through to a PLP, PDP. It can just be an infographic on Instagram or Pinterest again. It can be short form video. And actually, you're better to decide or look to what your audience is demanding from the query or from the intent, rather than just shoehorning content into a structure that historically worked for a Google search. So yeah, I'm glad that we're sort of aligned on that search everywhere.
So this
idea.
also brings me the idea of like customer journey mapping and understanding of customer journey. Like, how does that play into how you help other businesses?
It's a massive part. If we take a typical client, it's a massive part of our strategy development. We'll essentially take the learnings of what we historically did for traditional SEO. So things like keyword research, things like understanding persona profiles, and obviously business goals and objectives. And then we dial them up to 100 for our search everywhere, sort of like strategy generation. So we want to understand which platforms users are leveraging for the intent relevant to that brand. So if a brand comes to us for running shoes, for example, nice, easy example, we want to understand, okay, well, for the conversation of running shoe, is it a visual query? Is it a short form video query? Is it that text-based content on the website is going to be king? What type of content needs to be part of that conversation? And then that will always drive the pieces of content that we ultimately create. And then in terms of the actual understanding, well, your primary audience are served up on this platform or spending time on this platform, we'll lean on like various tools that I'm sure we can get into to understand the 18 to 34s are really enjoying content on Snapchat at the moment, for example, or the over 50s are an emergent market on TikTok. So if there's an opportunity there for a brand to get ahead of the curve and speak to over 50s on TikTok that are starting to populate the platform more and more so that they are infiltrating that new market, for example. So it's just understanding where we believe our brand should be showing up to meet their ideal audience.
That's a situation that I encountered probably in the last couple of months, and I've talked about it a couple of times because I'm an older person. I look a lot younger than I am, but I'm an older person and I was an athlete my whole life. So I didn't discover hair and makeup until about 5 years ago. And I thought, oh, this is so fun. It's so fun to be girly. And the first place I went was TikTok, because TikTok has like really good makeup tutorials, and they also have a variety of people who look different from one another. So I can type in like my skin tone, my eye color, what I'm looking for in terms of what's going to fit my needs, right? As I was exploring this, makeup is foreign to me. These girls were using all sorts of crazy stuff. And I was like, I didn't even know that existed. I didn't find out people actually had fake eyelashes or could put fake eyelashes on until I was like in my 30s. I'm not kidding. People used to always ask me, do you curl your eyelash? I'm like, with a curling iron? What are you talking about? I didn't know that girls did that. Anyway, on TikTok, I found a makeup brand that I really loved. It really made sense for me. And I went to their website to find the product that I was looking for. And this video and the videos around it had hundreds of thousands of views, tons of comments, tons of engagement, all that type of stuff. But I could not find that particular product. And I'm like, if I was a big brand, that would be one of the first connections I would make is with some of these influencers. So you're nodding your head. Tell me what you think about that and how that inspires you.
So there's a funny story around this actually. With makeup and beauty especially, the first ever real search everywhere style campaign that I saw in the wild that wasn't one of ours was by Sephora. And Sephora ran a campaign called Black Beauty is Beauty, which essentially recognized that the conversation on TikTok, Instagram and Pinterest around Black beauty was obviously Black-owned makeup brands, was Black creators talking about the latest beauty trends, makeup trends, cosmetics trends, and that community was thriving on social platforms. But when you searched for Black beauty on Google, you received queries about a film from the 80s, which was about a black horse. There was a massive gap there between what the community was demanding and what Google was serving. So they launched this campaign with a hero video to call out this stigma, to celebrate like the contribution of the Black community to the makeup and cosmetic industry and to the trends that take place within that. And generated like mass brand awareness on the back of it. They partnered with more Black-owned brands than ever before. They did more for Black-owned brands, put them in like better shelf positions and things like that in the store in real life. And it was this first connected campaign. And what it led to was like a 7,000% increase in the number of people searching for Sephora at the time. We later spoke to the CMO who oversaw this campaign, and they didn't know that had took place. They didn't know that there was a 7,000% increase in people searching on Google for Sephora plus Black-owned products. The CMO was just like, if we'd have seen this spike and known about this, we would have kept the campaign going. We would have made it like a hero campaign for a longer period of time, instead of it having a clear start and end date. This idea of, okay, we've seen this on social search and then there's a massive disconnect with the website or with the traditional SEO, that's not alien to the industry, because it's happening at this huge brand like Sephora that had done such a great creative campaign from a social and from a brand point of view, but then completely missed the boat when it came to the SEO/brand search play. So yeah, in terms of how that's working and what's happening there's just this massive need to communicate more internally at any brand, but especially at the biggest brands in the world, where when we're doing these social search campaigns, when we're doing brand campaigns, there needs to be integration between all of the potential stakeholders. Because, as you rightly point out, if you can't find the products that you're celebrating and creating buzz about for on TikTok, that's a massive issue for the SEO team or the search team that they could quite easily fix, quite quickly fix, and then have massive results on the back of. And all that's needed to take place there is a little bit of internal comms. Historically, we've always struggled to get those internal comms moving. Now, as search moves and people start to accept that actually we need brand mentions for AI, LLM search, we need conversations going and taking place on social search, and then we need a good, strong, traditional SEO foundation to build this all from. There's a need to break down those silos and have those conversations. So hopefully we'll see that happen more and more. But yeah, that was always our go-to example in the early days. I say early days like we're 10 years old, but like for our first 3-4 months until we built our own case study, that was the case study that we used. And what they managed to do as well is they managed to move the Black Beauty film down the set and make the Sephora stuff come up when you did search for Black Beauty. That's since changed again because the knowledge graph has gone back to, well, actually people are searching for this film from the 80s because Sephora haven't kept up with it. And so, yeah, it's a good sort of analogy, if you like, of exactly what you was just saying.
And that was going to be my question is, okay, then did they follow through on that suggestion? And then it's, wow, if it was doing so well, I wonder why they didn't continue to do it or if it started to decline. And these silos, every element from creating the title, descriptions, taking photos, optimizing pages, like actually figuring out that there was a H1 and a title tag and meta description on a Shopify page. Like I did all of that. So it's so hard for me to understand about this communication breakdown that is happening in these larger brands because the clients appear to be creating the demand for these products, which is exactly what we're set up for now. It's like you want to create the demand so that you're searched for. How can companies do a better job of recognizing that? Before you go, don't forget, if you want to finally feel confident about SEO, check out my new AI SEO Foundations course. In just 7 days, Crystal GPT will guide you step by step to make your website more findable and your business easier to buy from. Ready to get started? Visit SEOin7days.com and let AI make SEO simple. That's SEOin7days.com with the number 7.